Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So, how was your first internal test? Ayush Sinha,
Yes, sir.
how was your first internal test?
Very nice, sir.
Very nice. See, due to some technical errors, the that website has been crashed. So again, once the college reopens, they will continuously conduct a test, I think. So from 1st June, students should come to the college. Already the staff has started uh, to going to the college. So 30% of the staff they have allowed. So 30% staff are rotating, right? So from 1st June, as per VTO and as per government, so from 1st June, you are going to attend the college. Understood, all of you? Harapriya.
Sir,
Okay. So shall we start today's class? Whether all of you attended the quiz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think most of you have submitted your assignment. So still 13 students they have not submitted their assignment. So continuously I'm telling that, so that assignment will carry marks. Okay. Now, okay, let it be. So today, so yesterday Joji ma'am has took my class physics. So today I will continue her class also. So first hour we'll take the theory class, and in the second 20 minutes break, 10:50 to 11:50 again we will engage the lab session. Is it fine?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now we'll start the class. In the last class we were discussing about the lasers, right? Am I audible to all of you?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So in the last class we are discussing about the lasers, right? So we are at the end of this topic, and in lasers we supposed to complete only the carbon dioxide gas lasers and semiconductor lasers, gallium arsenide lasers, right? So once again we'll revise what is the laser and what are the things we have learned so far. So quickly I will give the revision of this laser. Okay. So laser stands for, acronym stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That means amplifying the light. How? By means of stimulated emission of radiation. So in that again we have discussed how laser is different from the normal incandescent light. So incandescent light have many wavelengths, multidirectional, incoherent. In laser light it is monochromatic, directional and coherent source. So what is coherence? As I said, a crust of one wave falls on the crust of another wave. So it will give out the constructive interference that in turn gives out the amplification in the outcoming light. So that is called as coherence. Now, so in basic principles of the lasers, we have studied three things. One is absorption, another one is spontaneous emission, another one is stimulated emission. This third one is very important because the lasing action is due to the stimulated emission. It is not due to spontaneous or absorption. Okay, in absorption, what happens whenever you give out a photon? So atom in the ground state, it will absorb the photon and it will get excited to the higher energy level. This is called absorption. So spontaneous emission, if that atom, it will not sustain always the higher energy level. It intends to come back to the ground state, that is stable energy state. So it will come by its own. again giving out a photon. It is called as spontaneous emission. Here we are not going to supply any external photon. So in stimulated emission, so we are in force, we are going to send the photons. We want to forcibly bring down the atoms which are in the excited state. Okay. So while coming out, that atom will give out two number of photons and they will travel in the same direction. So that will in turn give out a laser light. So this is stimulated emission, and this stimulated emission is responsible for the lasing action. So in absorption, so as we discussed, so see number of atoms are more in the ground state. So before the absorption of the photon. So after the absorption of a photon, one of these atom will get excited to the excited state. This is a pictorial representation of the absorption process. Then we have studied Einstein coefficients. This Einstein coefficients relates the absorption, stimulated emission, and spontaneous emission. All these three together. Okay. So this derivation is very important. Okay. Then we have studied types of lasers. So based upon their sources, the lasers are classified into gas lasers, crystal lasers, semiconductor lasers, and liquid lasers. So we are restricted to study only this kind. Okay, based upon their sources. First one. Now, according to the nature of emission, continuous laser, pulsed laser, and according to their wavelength. So with respect to the electromagnetic spectra, they are classified: visible, infrared, ultraviolet, microwave, and X-ray. According to different levels. So 2-step laser, 3-step laser, and 4-step laser according to the mode of pumping. So as we discussed, there are different pumping. Why pumping is required? Because to excite the atoms from the ground state to the higher energy state. So it can be done by using optical pumping, chemical pumping, electrical discharge, and electrical. Now we are restricted only to their sources. Again, in this we are going to study individual example. In gas lasers, we are going to study a carbon dioxide laser, and in semiconductor laser, we are going to study a gallium arsenide laser. Okay. Now, so after this, we have studied that what are 2-step lasers. In 2-step laser means absorption of the photon, emission of the photon by means of spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. This is 2-step laser. So whatever the emission of the laser, which involves the absorption, spontaneous, and stimulated, it is called as 2-level laser. Here there is no metastable state, as we already discussed. So in 3-step laser, so there is a one metastable state, energy level is there in between the ground state and the higher excited state. So if there is a metastable state, then we call it as a 3-step laser. Then 4-step laser or a 4th-level laser. Here there are two number of metastable states. That is level 2 and level 3. Both are metastable states. Why we call them as metastable states? Because they lie in between the ground state and the excited state. That is level 4 and level 1. So whatever the levels in between, they are due to the metastable state we call. Okay. This is 4-step laser. Then production of the lasers, they require a pumping, lasing, and the active medium. The act of exciting atoms from lower energy state to higher energy state by supplying energy from external source is called as optical pumping. If you are using photon, it is called as optical pumping. If you are using electrical means, it is called as electrical discharge. And what is lasing? The process which leads to emission of stimulated photons after establishing the population in motion is called as lasing. And what is active medium? The quantum system between whose energy levels the pumping and the lasing action occurs is called as active medium. So this is very important, requisites of the laser system. So what are the preliminary requisites? So we require an excitation source. Without the excitation source, you won't see or you won't observe any laser light at all. Okay, you always need an excitation source. Maybe in the form of light, it may be in the form of current, or it may be in the form of a field, magnetic field, whatever, electric field. So excitation source is required for pumping action. And an active medium which supports population in motion. So whatever the medium you are going to use within the laser system, that is very important. So why it is required? Because to get a population in motion. What is population in motion? To make more and more number of atoms in the higher excitation state. It is called as population inversion. And a laser cavity is must. The population inversion, as we discussed, so pumping the number of atoms which are in the ground state to the higher excited state. This is called as population inversion. There, the metastable state, here it looks like it has many number of atoms compared to its excited state, because the lifetime of metastable state is greater than this excited state. Okay, the atom in the excited state, it will immediately fall to the metastable state. The lifetime of metastable state here is 10 to the power minus 3 seconds. Okay, so this is called as population inversion. That is, achieving more number of atoms in the excited state from the ground state is called as population inversion, and it is very important in lasing action. That's what, again, a pictorial representation of the population inversion. So what is normal population and population inversion? In normal population, more number of atoms will be stationary, stable state, in the equilibrium state. So in the population inversion, more number of atoms will be in the excited state. And as I discussed, so there are different types of pumping: optical pumping, electrical pumping, X-ray pumping, and chemical pumping. All the four are related to the source, whatever the source you are going to use. The source in the optical pumping used is a photon. Okay, by means of you are sending a light. You are using a light as a pumping source. In the electrical pumping, you are simply just drawing out a voltage, okay, or a current. By means of that, you are going to do electrical pumping. In X-ray pumping, you are sending an X-ray, so that will stimulate the ground state atoms and it will get excited to the higher energy state. In chemical pumping, you are using a chemical vapors or chemical ions. Okay, that will in turn excite the atoms from the ground state to the excited state. Lasing action we have studied, and this is a pictorial representation of a lasing action. So this is the energy introduction. So the ground state, from the ground state, so outside energy, the atoms will absorb the outside energy and they will get excited to the higher energy state, and they will come back to the metastable state. Then they will return to their equilibrium state by giving out a photon. That is nothing but a laser. Then we have a laser type, different types of lasers based upon the wavelength they emit. Okay, so we are studying only carbon dioxide laser and also a gallium arsenide laser. Okay, this is a general table. And applications we have studied in day-to-day life. We have many number of applications of the lasers. So in medical treatment, optical surgery, general surgery, tattoo removal, as we discussed, entertainment in CD players, DVD players, video game system, telecommunications, military weapons, in defense systems. Okay, in all, whatever the digital world you are observing across you, it has its imprint. Okay, so laser technology is vast and its applications are widespread. Okay, and also, so we have given some examples of the laser applications again. Okay, so this is the today's topic. We are studying out the carbon dioxide laser. So so as we discussed, the lasers are classified based upon their sources: gas lasers, liquid lasers, semiconductor lasers. Okay, so in that, so first we are going to study a typical example of a gas laser. In gas lasers, carbon dioxide we are going to use. Okay, whether I am audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these two are very important in view of your exam. So they'll ask either one of these. One is carbon dioxide laser, other one is semiconductor laser, that is gallium arsenide laser. So out of these two lasers, one laser they'll ask for principal, construction and working, and along with the applications. Okay, for long question, it's very important. Listen carefully. Okay, so it's very simple also. Carbon dioxide laser, it's the kind of gas laser. See, carbon dioxide laser was one of the earliest gas laser invented by Kumar Patel of Bell Labs in 1964. In the year of 1964 only it was invented. Okay, and it is one of the most useful lasers. Carbon dioxide gas lasers are the highest power continuous wave lasers. Okay, that are currently available. They are also quite efficient. The ratio of output power to pump power can be as large as 20%. So based upon their efficiency also, lasers got their applications. Okay, so in carbon dioxide laser the efficiency is 20%. If you go for semiconductor laser, again this efficiency has been increased, because there you are using the source and the active medium, everything is different. and that is used for that some particular application. Okay, in carbon dioxide can be used for some particular application. Here you can't use a semiconductor laser. Okay, based upon their application also, we are going to divide the lasers. So in carbon dioxide laser produces a beam of infrared light. Remember this point, very important. The carbon dioxide laser produces a beam of infrared light. That is, this laser is not visible with bare eyes, because whatever the light that can be visible, it should be in the UV region, right? Visible region. But the whatever the light coming out of carbon dioxide, it falls in the infrared region. And the principal wavelength bands centering around 9.6 to 6 and 10.6 micron. And what is the principle? Based upon what principle this carbon dioxide laser works? It's very important. This principle is very important. Based upon this, we'll see the construction and working of a carbon dioxide laser. The transition between the rotational and vibrational energy levels. Say in carbon dioxide, why we are discussing about the rotational and vibrational energy levels? Because carbon dioxide is a gas. Because in gas, we know that molecules are loosely held to each other. They are loosely bound to each other. They are free to move inside any given medium. Because of that, they can possess all the three vibrational energies. So rotational and vibrational energy levels, they will lend to the construction of molecular gas laser. Okay, these rotational and vibrational energy levels plays an important part in constructing the carbon dioxide laser. See, nitrogen atoms are raised to the excited state, which in turn deliver energy to the carbon dioxide atoms. This is very important point in the construction and working of the carbon dioxide laser. So you should keep it in your mind that to construct carbon dioxide laser, you require a mixture of, see here, active medium, mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium or water vapor. Okay, your intention is to construct the carbon dioxide, but active medium, whatever you are using it's a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium or water vapor. Why you are using all these three, we'll discuss in later. Okay, you should remember this point. So the nitrogen atoms are first raised. Okay, first we will excite the nitrogen atoms from ground state to the higher energy state. Okay, that excited state, which in turn deliver energy. That means, so whenever the atoms get excited in the nitrogen energy level from ground state to the higher energy level, the atoms which are in the higher energy level of nitrogen, they will collide with the atoms with the carbon dioxide. So the excited state of nitrogen is equivalent to the ground state of the carbon dioxide. For this purpose, why we are using nitrogen atoms here? Because to get more number of population inversion. Okay, as we discussed, population inversion is nothing but to place more and more number of atoms in the higher energy level. Why you want to place more number of atoms in the higher energy level? Because whenever if you stimulate those atoms to de-excite, so if more number of atoms are falling to metastable state than to the ground state, they'll give out more number of photons. More number of photons in turn gives out the more intense light. Okay, so only if you use carbon dioxide, you won't get that much number of atoms in the excited state. To increase the more number of atoms in the higher energy state, you are going to use the mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium and water vapor. Understood all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to construct carbon dioxide laser, you require a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium or water vapor. So why helium or water vapor, we will discuss later. Because to this carbon dioxide can be break into carbon monoxide and oxygen. Okay, why it will break into carbon monoxide, that is CO and O? Because during collision, more number of electrons hit together. Okay, what happens during that collision? So this CO2 can be break into CO and O, but we want carbon dioxide laser. So again, to recombine that CO2, we require a water vapor, helium or a water vapor. Okay, so the function of helium or water vapor is to recombine the break part, that is CO monoxide, carbon monoxide and oxygen together to form a CO2 again. Okay. So nitrogen atoms are raised to the excited state, which in turn deliver energy to the carbon dioxide atoms whose energy levels are close to it. Transition takes place between the energy levels of carbon dioxide atoms and the laser beam is emitted. You should just keep it in your mind that to construct carbon dioxide laser, you require a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium, or water vapor. Okay, it's a molecular gas laser. It requires a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen. Why nitrogen is required? Because we want more number of atoms in the excited state. Why you want more number of atoms in the excited state? Because while coming back, those atoms will give more number of photons. Why more number of photons is required? We want more intense light. Why you require more intense light? Because specified applications. Okay, so all are interconnected. Okay, you just keep it in your mind. The mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, helium, and water vapor is required. Active center is carbon dioxide. We are just concentrating on carbon dioxide itself. And pumping method, what we have used is electric discharge method. Okay, this is very important. So optical pumping, as we discussed, here we are not using optical pumping. Here we are using, you are not sending light. Here pumping method, it is due to electric discharge method. That is, you are simply connecting two electrodes. Okay, battery supply you are going to connect here. And optical resonator, gold mirror or silver mirror coated with aluminum. This is to partially reflect or absorb the emitted light. And power output is 10 kilowatt. And nature of output is continuous or pulsed. Both we can get here. And micrometer. Now, also we have discussed in the last more another one is asymmetric stretching. So what is the difference between these? So this diagram we have discussed, isn't it? Vibrational energy levels of in carbon dioxide. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this we have discussed energy levels. One is symmetric mode. What is that? Another one. Bending mode. So as we discussed, all the three molecules, they lie in the same molecular axis. Okay. And the direction of this oxygen are towards or away from the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is stable in the symmetric mode. In the asymmetric mode, moving opposite to the direction of the oxygen atom. This is called asymmetric. And in bending mode, all the three, even though they lie in the molecular axis, carbon dioxide is going away from the molecular axis. Okay. Two oxygen molecules together, they're moving away from the molecular axis. These three are very important. So whenever they ask for the draw and give the construction and working of carbon dioxide laser, you should draw these three diagrams. Okay. You should discuss these vibrational energy levels in carbon dioxide. Then this is very important. A schematic diagram of carbon dioxide laser. So see here, this is for reference. See, here it is a discharge tube. Okay, whatever the one at the extreme end and one at the extreme right end. Right.
So
Left.
screen is
In the left end, fully silvered. Whatever the photons, they get discharged in the discharge tube. So whenever they fall, yes.
so screen is not visible, sir.
Construction, whether this screen is not visible, all of you see,
No, sir.
it's not clear.
So now it is visible.
Whether all of you, okay, fine. Okay, this is the schematic diagram of the carbon dioxide. So it is a rectangular discharge tube. It is whatever you are observing here. It is a rectangular discharge tube. At extreme ends we have two mirrors, and both the mirrors are silvered. Okay, so left side mirror is fully silvered. Right
No,
side
sir,
mirror
the
is
screen is not visible still, sir.
okay. Fine. One second, I will share this. Just a moment. Now, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you able to see the schematic diagram of carbon dioxide laser?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it depends on your network. Okay, some of you are able to see and some of you are unable to see. Because this picture I taken it from a textbook I taken by cam scanner. Okay, so if you still have doubt, I will send that notes. Okay, you can go to that. So those who are unable to see that schematic diagram, you just listen. Okay, it's just a principle and construction. You just listen how we can construct a carbon dioxide laser. You just imagine in your mind. Those who are unable to see the schematic diagram, okay, I'll explain what it consists of. Okay, so a typical carbon dioxide laser consists of a discharge tube of 2.5 centimeter diameter. Its diameter is 2.5 centimeter and 5 meters length. The length of the discharge tube, it looks like a rectangular slab. Okay, in that the length of that rectangular discharge tube is 5 meters and the diameter is 2.5 centimeter. Right, the tube is water cooled. So why we are using water? To make it cool, because during discharge the much amount of temperature is released. Okay, so to cool that system we are using water, and it is filled with a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen and helium gases. So as I already told, so to construct carbon dioxide laser, you require a mixture of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and helium gases. How much you have to take? Whether you have to take 1 kg or whatever quantity, it's not like that. So in the proportion of 1:2:3. That means if you take the carbon dioxide 1 molecule, you're going to take 2 molecules of nitrogen and 3 molecules of helium gas. Okay, so this is after several experiments they have specified this ratio 1:2:3 carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and helium gases to be taken. Okay, and also traces of hydrogen or water vapor is added. Okay, so why water vapor is added? Because during discharge, some of the carbon dioxide molecules, as I said, during discharge, some of the carbon dioxide molecules they will break into CO and O. CO is carbon monoxide, O is the oxygen. Okay, what is the function of that hydrogen and water vapor is? They will help to reoxidize. Okay, hydrogen and water they will help to reoxidize CO and O back to CO2. Okay, during discharge that CO2 can break into CO and O, carbon monoxide and oxygen. So after adding hydrogen or water vapor, again they will combine. They'll go to their initial stage, carbon dioxide. Okay, the pressure inside maintained is 6 to 17 torr. Okay, now I'll see how it works. So one more thing, the mirrors, as I said, so left mirror is fully silvered. Okay, why it is fully silvered? Because it can reflect all the incident light. Okay, none of the light should go outside the discharge tube. Okay, so whenever it is connected to electrode power supply, whenever you apply power supply, as I said, molecules of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, they'll collide with each other. Okay, so whatever the light emitted during this discharge, it should not go away from the discharge tube. That's why one end is fully mirrored, silver, because due to this reflection in the mirror, the whatever the light incident on this silvered mirror, it will get reflected back into the system again. Okay, and the extreme right end is partially silvered. Partially silvered means 99% it is silvered. Only 1% it is left. Okay. So through that 1%, the laser light we are drawing out of the system. Understood, all of you? Say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we'll see the working of this laser light. Okay. So whenever a suitable voltage is applied across the two electrodes, see, as I said, there are two electrodes. So suitable power supply, suitable voltage is applied. What happens? A discharge of the gases is initiated. So as I said, we are using a carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and helium gases inside the discharge tube. Okay, discharge takes place. So during this discharge, many number of electrons are rendered free from the gas atoms. So already we know that in gas molecules or the atoms, they are loosely held to each other. They loosely bound to each other. So whenever we apply voltage, again those molecules will break into, and the free electrons, okay, they'll come out of the molecules. Okay, these free electrons accelerate towards the positive electrode. Okay, so the left side. So these, whatever the free electron inside the discharge tube, they go towards the left side. Okay, they'll begin to collide with the nitrogen and oxygen molecules during their path. Okay, whenever the free electrons during their path, they will collide with the nitrogen and oxygen. The collision belongs to class of collision of first kind. The nitrogen molecules are raised to the first vibrational level. Okay. So now we'll see how it can work. Okay, this is the construction of the carbon dioxide laser. So if you see this energy level diagram, so we can clearly understand how it works. Okay, so whenever they ask for the construction and working of a carbon dioxide laser, first you required to draw this. Okay, vibrational energy levels, symmetric, asymmetric, and bending. Then you have to draw schematic diagram of the carbon dioxide. Then in the third, you have to draw this energy level. These are very important in the construction and working of the carbon dioxide. If you draw this, you can write by your own. You don't by heart anything. Okay, if you by seeing diagram only, you can write by your own. See in the working, how we can draw a laser light from the carbon dioxide. So we have two gas molecules, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. This is the energy level of the nitrogen. Here it is the ground state. Here is the metastable state. Okay, so carbon dioxide. Here it is the ground state. Here is the excited state. So first, what we are not going to give energy to the carbon dioxide. First, we are going to give the energy to the nitrogen. How we are supplying energy? By means of power supply. We are sending, we are applying the voltage. Here we are not sending a photon. So it is not called as optical pumping. It is called as electric discharge. Okay, here we are sending a voltage. So due to that voltage, whatever the number of atoms in the ground state of nitrogen, they will get excited to the metastable in the nitrogen atom. So these metastable atoms in the nitrogen atoms, they will collide with the atoms, some of the atoms in the carbon dioxide. Okay, so what happens? So more and more number of atoms will be in the excited state of carbon dioxide now. So some of the atoms from the metastable nitrogen, they will fall into the atoms of the carbon dioxide. So their asymmetric stretching energy takes place. So what happens next? So now we have achieved the population inversion in the carbon dioxide. More number of atoms are there in the energy level E5. So what happens? They will again come back. They will fall to the lower energy state. So if the atoms from the higher energy level of carbon dioxide falls to the lower, that is E4 level. E5 is the higher energy level. E4 is the lower energy level in the carbon dioxide. Now, so whenever this falls to the E4, what is the laser light we get? With wavelength 10.6 micrometer. If it falls, if the atom falls to the another energy level E3, so we get a laser light of 9.6 micrometer. From these two together levels, E3 and E4, the atoms will fall to the E2. Here we won't see any laser output. Again, they will fall from E2 to E1. Here again, we won't see any laser output. We are going to see only laser output only from the transition of E5 to E4 and E5 to E3. Understood, all of you? Very simple energy level diagram of carbon dioxide. Say yes or no. Understood, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is about the carbon dioxide and application. See, as I said, construction and working, whenever they ask for carbon dioxide, you have to draw all the three vibrational energy levels: symmetric, asymmetric, and bending. Then schematic diagram, you have to remember. It's only a simple diagram. Okay, it's discharge tube, two mirrors. Left side is fully mirror, right side is partially mirror, partially silver. So power supply electrodes you are going to apply. Okay, so you are going to get the polarized beam, that is laser light in the right side. And this is the energy level, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. First we are going to excite the nitrogen atoms, and those excited nitrogen atoms, they will collide with the atoms in the carbon dioxide. Those carbon dioxide atoms, while falling to the lower energy level, they will give out two different wavelength laser. One is 10.6, another one is 9.6. So this is about carbon dioxide construction and working. So application of carbon dioxide, where we can use, because of the high power levels. Okay, carbon dioxide lasers are frequently used in industrial applications for cutting and welding, while lower power level lasers are used for engraving. They are also very useful in surgical procedures because water absorbs this frequency of light very well. So whenever it falls in the infrared, it will absorb the water. And also they are used in the research purpose. Okay, and also the common plastic polymethylene absorbs IR light. So in the production of plastic also they use the laser light. And because the atmosphere is quite transparent to infrared light, carbon dioxide lasers are also used for military range finding using LIDAR technique. What is LIDAR? Anybody? LIDAR. What this abbreviation stands for? So commonly we observe in our defense system, military system. LIDAR is light detection and ranging. Okay, where this technique has been used? This technique is used to map 3D holograph of a target. Okay, so if for a target is fixed first, so we are going to send the carbon dioxide laser. So whenever this carbon dioxide laser hits that target, and it will get reflected back. So that reflected data, from that reflected data, we are going to create a 3D figure, 3D holography of that target. So it will in turn it makes easy to hit that target. Okay, and also carbon dioxide lasers are used in the process uranium. Okay, in the nuclear reactors. Okay, and these are the applications of carbon dioxide. So one more laser is semiconductor laser, gallium arsenide. This is very simple compared to the carbon dioxide, because in carbon dioxide it's a gas laser. It consists of different vibrational energy levels. Here in semiconductor laser, PN junction diode itself acts as a laser. Okay. So in types of semiconductors, we know intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor. Can anybody tell me what is intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor? Anyone tell me what is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductor?
Sir, in intrinsic there will be no doping, and extrinsic there will be doping of silicon.
Not only silicon, it is based upon the specific purpose or application. Okay. So in as it told, intrinsic semiconductor, we call it as a pure semiconductor. That means you are not going to add any external atoms to the semiconductor. It itself is a pure semiconductor. Say for example, germanium or silicon. They are all are the intrinsic semiconductor. They act as a semiconductor by their nature itself. Okay, we no more need to add any atoms to that system. Okay, that is a pure semiconductor. And in extrinsic semiconductor means, so you can make any conductor into a semiconductor. How you can make any conductor into a semiconductor? Just by means of adding a foreign atom or a dopant we call. Just by means of adding an atom, you can make it into a impure. So whenever you are going to substitute the atoms from the outside to a system, crystal system, it will become an impure semiconductor. So again, in this impure semiconductor, we have two types, p-type and n-type. What is p-type and n-type semiconductors? Anyone, please, quickly. What are p and n type of semiconductors? Quickly. None of you know what is p-type and n-type of semiconductor?
Sir, in P-type, we use trivalent atoms as doping, and N-type, we use pentavalent type of atoms as doping.
Okay, what indicates p and n?
In P-type, N holes are the conductors, and N-type electrons.
Very good. See, in p-type and n-type, the name itself indicates p means positive type. Positive are nothing but the holes. Positive charge carriers are the prominent in the p-type of semiconductor. In n-type, n means negative charge carriers. Okay, that is electrons. They are the majority charge carriers in n-type. In the p-type, holes are the majority charge carriers. Okay. So as we discussed, intrinsic semiconductor is a perfect material with no impurities. Extrinsic, donor or acceptor type semiconductors. Majority carriers in n-type is n and p-type are electrons and holes. Okay, the operation of semiconductor devices is essentially based on the injection and extraction of minority charge carriers. Okay, just we'll see basic. What is n type of semiconductor? So see, in n type of semiconductor, one excess electron will be available. How this excess electron will be available? We are going to add a foreign atom. So see, this is the lattice of a germanium. All the four atoms, outside atoms, germanium, Ge indicates germanium. All the four atoms of germanium, they have one each electron free. Okay, to make them spare, we are going to add one more foreign atom, that is Sb. Sb means antimony. That element, antimony, consists of 5 electrons. So what happens? 4 electrons will be get paired into the 4 electrons of germanium. 1 electron excess will remain unpaired. Okay, the 4 electrons out of 5 electrons, 4 electrons will get paired into the 4 different atoms of the germanium. So 1 electron remains excess. That electron, see here, these are the Fermi layer. That individual, each antimony will contribute 1 electron. If you add more and more number of antimony to the germanium lattice, so it will contribute to the more number of electrons. Where they lie just below the conduction band. So that we call it as an extra electron energy level. That extra electron energy level is nothing but Fermi level. Okay, to get n type, you are going to add a pentavalent atom. Okay, pentavalent means 5. Okay, so out of 5 electrons, 4 electrons will get paired, 1 electron will remain excess. This is called as n type of semiconductor. And this is p type. Here we are going to add a trivalent atom. So here this will create a hole, number of holes. So again, take germanium. If you add a boron, it's a kind of trivalent atom. Okay, it has got 3 electrons. So what happens? So out of 4 electrons of germanium, if you add boron, which having 3 electrons, 3 electrons will get paired. One hole of the germanium will remain free. So that will in turn form an extra hole energy level, that we call it as a Fermi energy level. Where it lies? It lies above the valence band. Okay, this is p-type semiconductor. Then classification of a semiconductor lasers. We can classify semiconductor laser into homojunction semiconductor and heterojunction semiconductor. Okay, so we are going to discuss about homojunction semiconductor. And again, in heterojunction, there are 2 types: double heterojunction and single heterojunction. What is homojunction semiconductor? This is what for your syllabus. Okay, homojunction semiconductor, gallium arsenide laser, p and n type of material it is made up of. Homojunction diode lasers are those in which p end and n end of the diode are made up of the same material. Okay, if you take a gallium arsenide together, so the P and N type both are made up of the same semiconductor, gallium arsenide, homojunction. That means the both semiconductors, gallium arsenide, both ends, P and N type, they will sandwich together. Okay, so such kind of semiconductor is called as a homojunction. They use direct band gap semiconductor material. PN junction acts as a active medium here. The crystal is cut thickness of 0.5 mm. Applied voltage is given through metal contacts. Again, here we are going to send a voltage from the outside. So what happens? We know that whenever if you supply voltage, more number of holes and electrons, they will come towards the depletion region. So what happens towards the depletion region? They will get attracted to each other. If that number exceeds, okay, what happens? They will give out the photons. That itself we call it as a laser here. Okay, it's a very simple. So semiconductor laser, here we are going to study gallium arsenide. This is the schematic diagram of the gallium arsenide laser. So both ends are connected to a current. Those electrodes are going to use for the supplying of the current. So two surfaces, left and right, they are cleaved surfaces. Why they are cleaved surfaces? Because again, as I say, this the output light, whatever the laser, it should be get reflected back into the system. Now, so this is the working forward bias diode. So P and N type. So laser beam are coming out of this. So whenever you supply voltage, positive and negative terminals are here. Whenever you switch on the voltage, so more and more number of holes and electrons from both the ends, P and N type, they will come together. It's the depletion region. They will collide. If the number is exceeds, they will come out as a photon. It's called as a semiconductor laser. This is the energy level diagram, homojunction energy level, valence band and the conduction band. Here we can see a free electrons in the N type. From the P type, free holes are there. Okay, whenever you apply a voltage, they will come to the depletion region. Okay, they will give out the laser light. And this is heterojunction. It is not for your syllabus. Okay, heterojunction means both the ends are made up of different material. As we see in P and N type semiconductor homojunction, both P and N type are made up of single material, gallium arsenide. Here P is made up of some other, N is made up of some other semiconductor. Then advantages of this semiconductor laser is, so out of all the existing lasers, this semiconductor laser is very vast. It is used because it has got widespread applications. Because why it is used in such a manner? Because smaller size. Okay, semiconductor laser are economical in cost. Okay, compared to all the lasers, semiconductor lasers are economical, and its construction is very simple. You just take a P and N type semiconductor, supply voltage, will give out a laser. So it has a high efficiency among all the lasers. Its efficiency falls more than 40%. Okay, so as like in carbon dioxide, you can see only 20% of the efficiency. So in here, you can see a high efficiency and the low power consumption. Okay, understood. And these are the advantages of this semiconductor laser. Any doubt in this? All of you understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once again, all of you enter your name along with your USN number. Those who already entered, not required. Those who not entered your name along with USN number, please enter your name along with USN number. See, so after this, another 7 minutes we have. After that, we'll take a break into 20 minutes. So again, we'll combine at 10:50. So 1 hour lab session we'll conduct. Okay, as I said, I'm going to give a demonstration of the lab experiment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is that clear? Any doubts regarding laser? We have completed laser now. Whether all of you understood laser light, how the basic principles, construction, working, types of lasers? All of you understood? See, I can observe that still there are 12 to 13 students, they have not submitted their assignment. Okay, so they clearly they are going to lose 4 marks. If you come to us and tell that, so we submit now, we are not able to give you marks. Okay, so repeatedly I told you that submit your assignment, and also I have extended 2 to 3 times the due date. So those who have already submitted, it's fine. They'll get 4 marks for the assignment, and those who attended quiz, they'll get the 4 marks. Okay, based upon your performance. Okay, and those who are not at all submitted their assignment, not at all they have joined for the quiz, they're clearly they are going to lose 10 marks. So you can score more in your annual exam. So as I said, from the 1st of June, the college will reopen. Already college has been opened. The staffs are coming, but students, from 1st June, you are going to come to the college. Understood, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once if you come to the college, immediately the college they are going to conduct 2 internals quickly, back to back each other. Okay, if they conduct online, fine. I think they're facing some problems. If that is not sorted out, they'll conduct 2 internals back to back, 2 or 3 internals, where once you come to the college. So based upon your performance, they'll give out the marks. Only 1 month has been extended, I think. So which class you attended in the morning? 8:30.
No class, sir.
Why? As per timetable, which class is there in the 8:30? Electrical class was there, right?
Civil, sir.
Civil. Why civil sir has not taken class?
He usually takes afternoon, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, somehow you just attend all the classes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
See, we'll take a break for 20 minutes. We'll again come back at 10:50. Okay, I can rejoin us. So we'll give demonstration of some of the experiments. Understood, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will end this meeting. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you,
Come
sir.
back at 10:50.